The music was still echoing through the gym when she heard it. She actually believed it. The voice came from behind the bleachers. A laugh followed, then another. Hye-jin stood frozen at the edge of the hallway, her shoes still wet from the rain, her dress clinging awkwardly to her sides. Her heart pounded in her ears as she leaned closer, just enough to hear. "I told you she'd say yes," said a smug voice. "She's desperate. You owe me that burger." Then came the worst part. "Yeah, but now I wish I hadn't done it." Seo Yoon-jae, his voice. The boy who had looked her in the eyes, who had offered his hand, who had smiled like she was the only girl in the world, he said that. And just like that, the night she thought would change her life ended just not the way she imagined. If you've ever trusted someone and regretted it, this story is for you. A week earlier, Hye-jin was invisible. At least that's how it felt. She wore her usual oversized hoodie, hair tied in a knot that wasn't really a style, her thick-rimmed glasses constantly slipping down her nose. She walked the halls of Hwangjonghai like a ghost in sneakers, ignored, unnoticed, untouched. But that didn't mean she didn't see everything. She saw how people looked at her when they thought she wasn't looking, how they whispered, how they laughed. She heard the cruel nickname, the librarian's shadow, because she was always alone, always quiet, always hiding behind a book. But Hye-jin wasn't as weak as they thought. She had a sharp tongue, a wicked sense of humor that only her best friend Minji ever heard, and a secret passion for old rock music and cartoon drawing. Still, she never imagined someone like Seo Yoon-jae would talk to her, let alone invite her to the school dance. It happened. On a rainy Tuesday, she was walking past the courtyard when someone called her name. Hye-jin. She turned around, startled. It was Seo Yoon-jae, standing there with his hands in his pockets, hair perfectly messy, uniform looking like it belonged in a commercial. Every girl on campus knew who he was, captain of the debate team. Flawless smile, clean sneakers, the kind of boy who could date anyone, and probably had, and he was talking to her. She blinked. "Me?" he smiled. "Yeah, you." People were watching. She felt their stares crawl across her skin like bugs. He stepped closer. "Are you going to the school dance?" She laughed, nervously. "Why would I?" "Then come with me." Silence. Actual silence. The world stopped spinning for one terrifying second. Her heart jumped. "What?" "I'm serious," he said, voice soft. "Come to the dance with me." She stared at him, waiting for the punchline. It didn't come. And even though everything inside her screamed that it was too strange, too sudden, too impossible, she said yes. Her best friend Minji nearly dropped her phone when she heard. "Are you messing with me?" "No," Hye-jin whispered, hugging a pillow to her chest. "He really asked me." "And you said yes. What was I supposed to do, say no?" Minji paced the room. "I mean, yeah, maybe. This is weird, Hye-jin. This is not normal." Hye-jin looked down. "Do you think it's a prank?" Minji paused, looked at her. Her best friend, sweet, loyal, sensitive to the core. "I don't know," she admitted, "but if he hurts you, I'll kill him." Over the next few days, things started to change. Yoon-jae texted her. He smiled at her. In the hallway. He even waited by her locker once and handed her a can of grape soda. "I noticed you always buy this." She barely managed to whisper, "Thank you." Inside, it felt like fireworks were exploding in a silent room. No one had ever paid attention to her like that, and somehow, he made her feel not just noticed, but important. What she didn't see, however, was the way Tae-min watched from the side, Yoon-jae's best friend, and the one who had started it all. Tae-min had always been jealous of Yoon-jae's popularity, his looks, the way teachers adored him, the way girls followed him with their eyes. He masked it well, always joking, always smiling, but behind that smile was something bitter. So when he saw Yoon-jae glance at Hye-jin once during lunch, just out of curiosity, Tae-min smirked. "Bet you can't get her to say yes to the dance." Yoon-jae laughed. "What?" "I'm serious. Ask her. Bet. She'll say yes." It was stupid, petty, mean. But Yoon-jae, wanting to impress his friend, wanting to keep the easy peace, had shrugged and said, "Fine. What do I get if I win?" a free burger, and eternal glory. And just like that, a girl's heart became a joke between two boys, but something changed. Yoon-jae didn't expect to like talking to her, didn't expect her to make him laugh, genuinely. Didn't expect to feel relaxed for once, away from his group, his image, his perfect reputation. She was real. She didn't care about popularity or appearances. She liked music from the 80s and drew comics about a time-traveling cat. She made him feel like he could breathe. He found himself looking forward to their chats, asking questions, listening, laughing. One day she showed him a drawing she had made of him. Nothing romantic, just a caricature with exaggerated eyebrows and a speech bubble that said, "Too pretty to study." He cracked up for 5 full minutes. "You're not what I expected," he said that day, leaning against the rooftop railing. She blinked. "What were you expecting?" "I don't know," he said honestly, "but not someone like you." Her cheeks turned pink. "Is that a compliment?" He looked at her. Really looked. "Yeah," he said. "It is." And that's when it started to hurt. Because every day he spent with her, the lie felt heavier, the bet. He tried to forget it. Bury it, pretend it never happened, but Tae-min wouldn't let it go. "Got your tux yet, Romeo?" he teased one afternoon. Yoon-jae didn't answer. "Don't tell me you're catching feelings for the librarian." He looked away, and Tae-min saw the truth. "You're unbelievable," he said, laughing bitterly. "Out of every girl in this school, you fall for her." Yoon-jae didn't respond, because he didn't have to. The night before the dance, Hye-jin stared at herself in the mirror, hair freshly cut and curled by Minji, contact lenses instead of glasses, a simple pink dress that hugged her waist gently, lip gloss, light mascara. She looked like someone else. No, she looked like herself, the version she always kept hidden. "Are you nervous?" Minji asked. Hye-jin nodded, terrified. "You don't have to go. I want to." She took a breath. "For the first time in my life, I want to be seen." And when she stepped into the gym the next night, hand trembling slightly in Yoon-jae's, the room did stop. People stared, whispers followed. But she didn't shrink, not this time. Because when he looked at her, he smiled, like she was the only girl in the room. And for one magical night, she believed it. From the outside, they looked like the most unlikely pair at the dance. Hye-jin, hair curled, contacts in, cheeks glowing from a single coat of blush, still tugged at her sleeves every few minutes, like she was trying to disappear into her dress. And beside her, Seo Yoon-jae, tall, perfect, the boy who'd graced half the girls' daydreams, held her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. But for Hye-jin, none of it felt natural. It felt terrifying. Her heart had been racing since she walked through the gym doors. Every second she expected him to laugh, to drop the act, to point at her and say, "Just kidding." But he didn't. He smiled. He led her to the drinks table. He asked her what kind of music she liked, and he listened. Like, actually listened. That was the strangest part of it all. They sat on the bleachers when her heels started to hurt. He helped her take them off without asking questions, then laughed when he saw the cartoon band-aids on her ankles. "You seriously wear Pororo socks?" he asked, grinning. She rolled her eyes. "Don't judge me, he's iconic." He laughed harder. "You're kind of weird, you know that?" She raised an eyebrow. "You just figured that out?" He leaned back, still smiling. "No, but I think I like it." Her heart jumped. She didn't know what to say. So instead, she looked up at the paper stars taped to the ceiling. "Do you like this kind of thing?" she asked. He shrugged. "Not really." "Then why'd you come?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because I thought maybe this time would feel different." And for the first time that night, she felt it too. Like maybe it was different. They started spending more time together after the dance. It began with study sessions that weren't really study sessions. He'd show up late, never with a pencil, always with 2 cans of soda. She'd roll her eyes and call him hopeless. He'd grin and say, "That's why I have you." She started sketching little doodles in the corners of his notes. At first, he pretended not to care. Then, he started saving them. One afternoon, they met in the music room after class. No one was around. He sat at the piano tapping the keys randomly. She leaned against the wall, sketchbook open in her lap. "You really don't play anything?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not even Twinkle Twinkle," she laughed. Then stood up, sat beside him, placed her hands on the keys. She played softly. A simple melody, gentle, unpolished, but full of emotion. He watched her. "Where'd you learn that?" "My mom," she said. "She taught me before she passed." His expression changed. "She passed away when I was 9, she added quietly. "I don't talk about it much." He didn't speak, just nodded. But then he said, "You know, my dad left when I was 10. She looked at him. He used to say I had to be perfect to matter," he said. I guess I believed him for a long time. Silence stretched between them, but not an awkward one, the kind that says, "I get it." That day marked a shift. They stopped pretending, stopped walking on eggshells. He started opening up about the pressure, the constant need to impress, the loneliness under the spotlight. And she told him about growing up invisible, how even teachers forgot her name, how she used to wish she could trade her face. One day they skipped class. They sat on the rooftop, legs dangling over the edge, sharing a pack of strawberry milk and spicy chips. "How you know what I envy about you?" he asked. She snorted. "Envy? Me? You don't care what people think." She looked at him. "Of course I do." "Not like I do." He leaned his head back, eyes on the sky. "I'm so tired of pretending to like things I hate. Laughing at jokes I don't find funny. Wearing clothes I don't even choose." She stayed quiet, then said, "So stop pretending. It's not that easy." "No," she agreed. "It's not, but it's worth it." He looked at her, really looked. Like he was seeing her for the first time. After that, they started meeting every afternoon. He'd wait by the back gate. She'd pretend not to notice, but her heart always sped up when she saw him. They talked, laughed, shared secrets, favorite songs. Dumb fears. He told her he was afraid of birds. She told him she used to be afraid of her own reflection. They weren't just schoolmates anymore. They were something else, something tender, something real. One night, he texted her, "Yoon-jae, what are you doing?" Hye-jin, drawing. "Yoon-jae, can I see?" She sent him a photo, a sketch of the two of them sitting on the rooftop, legs swinging, heads leaning together. He stared at it for 5 whole minutes, then typed, "Yoon-jae, you're amazing." Hye-jin, "I'm average." Yoon-jae, "Not to me." That same night she fell asleep smiling, and he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how something that started as a joke could feel more honest than anything he'd ever known. But not everyone was happy. Park Tae-min watched it all unfold from the sidelines. The smiles, the glances, the skipped classes. He saw the way Yoon-jae looked at her now, with softness, with guilt, with something dangerously close to love, and it made his blood boil, not because he wanted Hye-jin, but because Yoon-jae had always been the one people followed, listened to, chose, and now somehow even the ugly girl had chosen him. He couldn't take it anymore, so he made a plan, one final blow. The night of the school dance arrived like a fairy tale, one she didn't quite believe she belonged in. Hye-jin stood in front of the full-length mirror in Minji's bedroom, holding her breath. The girl staring back at her didn't look like the one who used to hide behind her hair and giant sweatshirts. Her dark hair was curled and pinned softly at the sides, falling in waves across her shoulders. Her glasses were gone, replaced by delicate contact lenses that made her big, thoughtful eyes shine. Her dress was simple, soft lilac with thin straps and a flowy skirt that danced with every breath. She still looked like Hye-jin. But for the first time, she looked like the version of herself that only she knew existed. Minji stood behind her, beaming. "You look beautiful." Hye-jin's voice trembled. "Are you sure this isn't too much?" "It's not enough," Minji said. "He's going to lose his mind." Hye-jin smiled, but something twisted in her chest. She had dreamed of this moment since middle school, the dress, the music, the boy, but she had never imagined it would actually happen. And now that it was real, it scared her more than anything. She arrived at the school alone. Yoon-jae had promised to meet her there. The gym was glowing with fairy lights. Streamers floated from the ceiling. A disco ball spun slowly over the dance floor. Music thumped in the background, and students swirled around her in laughter and motion. For a second, Hye-jin froze at the entrance. But then, she saw him. Seo Yoon-jae stood near the stage, dressed in a sleek black suit with a loosened tie. His hair looked like he had run his fingers through it a dozen times, and his eyes scanned the crowd. Then he saw her, and everything stopped. His lips parted slightly, like he forgot how to speak. She took a slow step forward, heart pounding. He met her halfway. "You," he said, stunned. "You look different," she offered, self-conscious. He shook his head. "No. You look like someone I never want to stop looking at." Her cheeks flushed. "You're just saying that." "I'm not," he said, stepping closer. "You were always beautiful. I just never knew how to look properly." The words hit deep, deeper than he realized, and in that moment, something bloomed in her chest. Something dangerous, something called hope. They danced, not the silly, jumpy kind of dancing most of their classmates did, something slower, his hand on her waist, her hand on his shoulder, her heartbeat somewhere in her throat. The lights dimmed, and a soft song filled the air. It was one of the old tracks she had sent him, her favorite from an indie band no one else at school cared about. "You remembered," she whispered. He smiled. "You sent it to me. That makes it important." She looked up at him, eyes wide. "I'm scared," she admitted quietly. "Of what?" "That this isn't real." He paused, then leaned in, voice low against her ear. "It's the most real thing I've ever felt." They danced until her legs ached, until her laugh became natural and easy, until she forgot every cruel word ever thrown her way, every glance, every whisper, every nickname. Tonight she wasn't the ugly girl, she was just a girl with a boy. In a moment that felt like the beginning of everything, they slipped outside for fresh air. The sky was a deep navy above them, stars barely visible through the city lights. They sat on the school steps, sharing a juice box he had stolen from the teacher's lounge earlier. "You've changed," he said softly. She raised an eyebrow. "Is that a bad thing?" "No. I mean, you're still you. But you're not hiding anymore." She looked down at her hands. "I think I got tired of being scared," she said. "Tired of feeling like I had to apologize for existing." He nodded. "I like this you," he said. She smiled. "I like this you too." He looked at her, and this time he didn't hesitate. He leaned in gently, slowly, and kissed her. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't practiced. It was soft and nervous and real, and it felt like the kind of kiss people wrote about in poems. When they returned to the gym, Tae-min was waiting. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. Yoon-jae tensed. The second he saw him, Tae-min didn't say anything right away, just smirked, then looked at Hye-jin. "So, did you enjoy your little fairy tale?" Hye-jin blinked, confused. Yoon-jae stepped in. "Don't." But Tae-min ignored him. "Tell me." "Hye-jin, did he tell you how this whole thing started?" She frowned. "What are you talking about?" Tae-min smiled wider, cruel now. "The bet." Her heart stopped. "What bet?" Tae-min pulled out his phone, pressed play. Yoon-jae's voice echoed through the speakers. "I told you she'd say yes, you owe me that burger." Then Tae-min's laugh, and then the final nail, "Yeah, but now I wish I hadn't done it." Silence fell, the kind of silence that doesn't ask questions, only delivers truth. Hye-jin stared at Yoon-jae. He looked panicked, pale. "I didn't mean it," he said. "It was before. I swear I didn't." She took a step back. Her hands shook. "You made me believe this was real," she whispered. "You made me think I could be." He reached for her. She slapped his hand away, and then slowly she bent down, removed one of her heels, and threw it at Tae-min's chest. Hard. The entire gym gasped. Then she turned to Yoon-jae, tears in her eyes. Voice trembling. Never play with someone who has so little. And then she walked away, head high, back straight, barefoot, and everyone moved aside to let her pass. Yoon-jae didn't follow. He couldn't. Because for the first time, he didn't know how to fix what he broke. Hye-jin made it to the back gate before her tears finally came. Hot, silent, relentless. Min-ji found her sitting on the curb, dress soaked from the pavement, makeup streaked. She didn't ask questions. She just pulled her into her arms and held her. And for the rest of the night, Hye-jin said nothing, because nothing hurt more than believing something beautiful was real, only to find out it never was. She didn't come to school on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Hye-jin vanished, and no one had the courage to say her name. The gym was still buzzing with the echoes of the dance. Glitter clung to the walls, posters half torn, lights half dead. But the night itself, what happened, was etched into everyone's memory like a scar. They talked about it, of course, whispered, laughed. Some of them. Others shook their heads, but the truth was obvious. Everyone knew what Seo Yoon-jae had done, and more than that, everyone knew he hadn't meant for it to go that far. That didn't make it better. It made it worse. Yoon-jae hadn't slept properly in days. The moment kept replaying in his head. The way she looked at him, like he had taken something from her she'd never get back, and maybe he had. She had trusted him, believed in him, let herself hope, because of him, and all he had to show for it was a borrowed tux and the sound of a shoe smacking Tae-min's chest. He tried texting. Yoon-jae, I'm sorry. Yoon-jae, please let me explain. Yoon-jae, it wasn't what it sounded like. Yoon-jae, I never wanted to hurt you. No response. He waited near her house. No sign. He asked Min-ji at lunch. She didn't even look at him. She doesn't want to see. You, she said. And honestly, I don't either. He sat alone that day, first time in years, and not because he was being dramatic, not because he wanted attention, but because it was the first time he truly realized what it meant to be ashamed. Meanwhile, Hye-jin stayed in her room. She left only for the bathroom and to grab food when no one was looking. Her mom knocked once, asked if she was okay. She lied again. She told herself it didn't matter, that it was just a stupid bet, that boys like him don't fall for girls like her, not really, but it did matter, because for the first time she had believed she was enough, and that belief had shattered in front of the entire school. On Thursday, she opened her sketchbook, page after page of drawings, of him, caricatures, doodles, portraits half finished. She stared at them for a long time, then ripped them out, one by one, each tear echoing like a scream. She didn't cry. Not this time. She was done crying for someone who saw her as a joke. At school, things weren't the same for Yoon-jae either. He was still beautiful, still well-dressed, still smiled when teachers looked his way. But people whispered now, not just about the bet, about the silence that followed, about how he hadn't fought for her, because they all saw the moment when Tae-min pressed play, and they all saw that he stood there frozen, saying nothing, doing nothing. He had let her walk out alone. And that's what people remembered. Tae-min, on the other hand, walked around like a winner. He smirked in the halls, laughed at jokes only he made, but even he could feel it, the weight of what he'd done. Girls stopped flirting with him. Teachers looked at him differently. And worst of all, Yoon-jae stopped talking to him. Not a word, not a glance, not even anger, just cold, clean distance. One afternoon, Tae-min caught up with him outside the cafeteria. You're seriously going to act like I'm the only bad guy here, Yoon-jae? Didn't stop walking. You made the bet too, Tae-min said. You could have said no, that stopped him. Yoon-jae turned around slowly. I could have, he said, but I didn't. And that's on me. He looked him dead in the eye. And I'll regret it longer than you'll ever understand. Then walked away. Back in her room, Hye-jin stared at her reflection. Her dress from the dance still hung by her closet, untouched. She had thought about burning it, throwing it out, but she couldn't, because deep down, it wasn't just a dress. It was the proof that, just for a moment, someone had looked at her like she mattered. And that moment, even if born from a lie, had still felt real. She wasn't ready to forgive him, but she also wasn't ready to erase what they had. On Friday, she went back to school, no makeup, no curls, no contacts, just Hye-jin, hoodie, glasses, ponytail. She walked in, head high. People turned, stared, but no one said a word. She went straight to her desk, sat down, opened her notebook, and started writing. Not for anyone else, not for him, just for herself. Yoon-jae saw her from the hallway. His breath caught. She was back. But she didn't look at him, didn't even flinch when he walked past. He wanted to say something, anything, but he didn't, because he knew he didn't deserve her forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not ever. That weekend, he sat on the rooftop of the school for hours, sketchbook in his lap, not to draw, to write. The truth, from the beginning, why he said yes to the bet, how it changed, when it started to matter, how she made him feel seen, how scared he had been of losing. Everything, status, friends, control, and how none of it mattered now, not if it meant losing her. He wrote for hours. Then he did something crazy, something stupid, something honest. Monday morning. Students arrived, yawning, dragging their backpacks, and stopped, right in front of the school gate, because hanging from the rooftop, visible from the courtyard, was a giant white poster, letters bold, clear, sharp against the morning sky. It wasn't a bet, it was the only real moment of my life. Seo Yoon-jae gasps, phones lifted, whispers exploded, and then footsteps, slow, deliberate. Hye-jin walked into the courtyard and looked up and saw him, standing on the rooftop, waiting. Everyone was staring, phones up, voices low. The rooftop banner flapped gently in the wind, and for a moment it felt like the entire school was holding its breath. It wasn't a bet. It was the only real moment of my life. And beneath those words, standing in his uniform with his tie loose and his heart on full display, was Seo Yoon-jae, waiting for her. Hye-jin stood at the edge of the courtyard, eyes locked on the rooftop. She didn't move, didn't blink. The world could have collapsed around her and she wouldn't have noticed, because no one had ever done something like that for her, not in secret, not in silence, but out loud, in front of everyone, and that mattered, more than she wanted to admit. Up on the rooftop, Yoon-jae's heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. He couldn't see her face from that far down, couldn't read her expression. But when the crowd parted and she stepped forward, everything else disappeared. She walked one step, then another, across the courtyard, through the front doors, up the stairs, no hesitation, no fear, just the girl he had fallen for, real, raw, unstoppable. When she opened the rooftop door, he turned. Their eyes met, and the noise below faded to nothing. For a second, neither of them spoke. Then she said, "You're insane." He smiled, nervous. "I know. You could have just apologized." "This is better." She crossed her arms. "What if I don't forgive you?" "Then I'll stand here until I melt," he said, nodding toward the sun. "Or fall off. Either." Wait, dramatic ending. Her mouth twitched, almost a smile. He took a step closer. "I messed up bad. I should have said no to Tae-min. I should have told you the truth. I should have run after you that night." She looked away. "I was scared," he continued, "that if you knew how it started, you'd never believe how real it became." "And was it?" she asked quietly. He didn't hesitate. "Yes, another step. When you looked at me, I felt like a person, not a trophy, not a reputation. Just a boy with bad jokes and too many insecurities. Another step. And when I kissed you, it was the first time I forgot everyone else and remembered myself." He was close now. One breath away. "I didn't deserve you then," he whispered, "but I want to try to now." She stared at him, silent, then reached into her pocket, pulled out something folded. She handed it to him. He opened it slowly. A sketch of him on the rooftop, holding a banner, and her below, smiling. Not perfectly drawn, not colored in, but real. "Guess you're not the only one who does dramatic gestures," she said softly. And then finally, she smiled. He laughed, a laugh full of relief, hope, and something he hadn't felt in weeks. Then she said, "You're still an idiot. Fair. But maybe," she added, stepping closer, You're my idiot now." And that was all he needed. He leaned in, this time slower, softer, and kissed her, and it felt like everything they had been through, every joke, every tear, every lie, every truth, led to this, to the moment she stopped hiding, to the moment he started choosing, to the moment they both let go of who they were supposed to be, and held on to who they really were. Below, someone started clapping, then another, then more. By the time they pulled apart, the courtyard was full of applause and cheers, and at least 3 people wiping their eyes. Yoon-jae looked at her, eyes shining, and whispered, "They're definitely going to write about this on the gossip page." She rolled her eyes. "Let them," then took his hand, and didn't let go. In the days that followed, things changed. Not overnight, not perfectly, but permanently. People looked at her differently, not because she had changed her appearance, but because she stopped shrinking. She sat where she wanted, spoke when she felt like it, laughed out loud without checking who was listening. And Yoon-jae? He stopped pretending, stopped laughing at jokes he didn't like, stopped agreeing with people who made him feel small. He walked beside her, not in front, not behind, beside. And every time someone brought up the bet, she just smiled and said, "Yeah, but I'm the one who won." One afternoon, she found a folded paper in her locker. It was his handwriting, a note. "You made me brave, you made me real, you made me see myself, and I never want to stop seeing you. YJ." She kept it in her sketchbook, right beside the drawing she had made of him on the rooftop, because now when she drew, it wasn't to escape, it was to remember.